When Justin McBride committed to Kentucky, it didn't get the attention it really deserved. And now we're going to give McBride his flowers.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of the show, we're going to be finally reacting to Justin McBride committing to Kentucky. This was overshadowed on Tuesday by the whole Tyran Stokes debacle. We got to talk about it a little bit, but I want to flesh out my thoughts fully on what McBride means to this team, because fit and chemistry over everything will make this team succeed, especially so in March. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you guys so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. I want to remind everyone out there, we're free and available on all platforms. Subscribe wherever you are tuned in, especially so if you're watching live on YouTube. We did not get the chance on Tuesday evening to fully react to the positive news that was. Justin McBride, James Madison transfer, ends up committing to the Kentucky Wildcats 30 minutes before Tyran Stokes is supposed to announce his commitment to either Kentucky or Kansas. And it happened, and it was a blip on the Twitter timeline. It was oh, this is cool, but we've got to move on to more pressing matters. We've got the number one overall player that's about to potentially commit to us. That ends up not happening. BBN is sad, dismayed, just down bad all Tuesday evening. And Justin didn't really get the attention that he deserves for this commitment. As I have continued to say about players like McBride and about Justin specifically, these are the type players that prevent the fallout. These are the type commitments that prevent you from completely falling through the floor and getting blown out by competent teams, especially in like your non-conference slate, for instance. McBride is a floor raiser. He is a player that will raise Kentucky's floor. He is not a star, at least not on paper for the Cats. He's not going to go out there and average 16 a game, I would assume. He's probably not this team's Otega Owe. He's probably not this team's bruiser, right? He's not going to be the guy that dominates statistically while transitioning up from James Madison to the SEC. But what he does is he gives you stability. I don't know if McBride's going to start or if he's going to come off the bench. And frankly, I don't know if he's going to play at the 3 or the 4, now that I've really thought about it. If Kentucky ends up not getting a stud, star, international player from overseas, they might end up starting McBride and Njai alongside each other. I don't know if he's going to start. I don't know if he's going to come off the bench. I don't know what his specific role is going to be on this team, but whatever it is, it raises Kentucky's floor for the 26-27 season. And frankly, at this point in the cycle, yes, you want stars. You want guys that raise your ceiling, that you want to be as talented as possible. And Kentucky isn't as talented as they would like to be, but at least you have players like this to fall back on, to where you can say, okay, now we've got some depth and we can be comfortable moving forward knowing that if Njai doesn't work out, if he's not the uber talented Senegalese transfer that we expect him to be, at least we've got somebody like McBride to fall back on. Statistically, you'll like what you see. Again, not going. If he averages what he did at JMU at Kentucky, he will be a star. But I don't expect him to. His numbers at JMU counting stats were good. 15.3 points per game, 50% from the floor, 40% from deep, 78% from the charity stripe. This is a real, legitimate shooter. 5.5 boards, 1.5 assists, a little over a stock per game. When you go and look at Evan Mia, 81st percentile in Bayesian performance rating. He is a B on offense and defense. He is an A in scoring volume, 97th percentile there. He's a B rebounder. He's a C- playmaker. Overall, just a slightly above average player who was the leading scorer, one of the best scorers on a Duke's team a season ago that wasn't all that phenomenal. But we'll talk about this in a little bit. But the most important thing to me is not the counting stats. It's not the 15 points per game. It's not the 40% from three per se. What I see on film, when you watch this kid's highlights, when you look at what he is physically, which, by the way, just to let you know, he is 6'8", 240 pounds plus. I think Sports Reference has him listed at 230. He's not 230. Actually, I can go check right now. I think Ken Palm has him listed a little bit heavier than that. Yeah, they have him listed at 240. The stats are good, but when I watch this kid, I see, and it's two words. It's the only thing I care about. System fit. Think back to what Kentucky had in Mark Pope's first year here. They had guys all across the board who could spray it from three, who could play make for each other, and it was a team that thrived on their chemistry and experience. Andrew Carr, Ainsley Almanor, two players at the four that were 6'11", 235 and 6'7", 244 that could step out and knock down a three, that could make a crucial pass. And I think that, honestly, McBride is probably a cool blend between the two, where I think Kentucky can up McBride's three-point volume, maybe get somewhere between 35 plus to 40% from deep. And you get a guy between Carr and Almanor, where one guy is exclusively a spot-up shooter. I would argue that Almanor, and I don't think is arguable, he was a better catch-and-shoot guy than Carr was, and Carr wasn't bad in his own right. And then Carr also had the post moves and could put the ball on the floor, unlike Ainsley, which is something that McBride can do. It is a system fit. And if Kentucky's going to win this season, they need players like this on their roster to know, well, we've got something to fall back on. Let's continue to break this one down. Justin McBride commits to Kentucky. I think that this is a good ad. This is a good ad. Kentucky has done, outside of get the uber talented players, as far as depth, as far as thoughts toward the future, I think they've done a lot of good things. Yes, there are some concerns. There's a lot of volatility. This could swing wildly in one direction or another for Pope just because of the types of players that he's gotten. But somebody like McBride makes me feel a little better. It helps me sleep at night a little bit. Let's continue to break this one down for you here. Before we do, though, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are rolling along where every possession matters. And if you're looking to get even closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started, because right now new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. That's right, turn $5 into $150 in bonus bets for just getting started. I really like using FanDuel during the playoffs because everything I need is right there in front of me in one place. Stats, trends, performance stuff, matchups. Before making your picks, you can really dive into the analysis, and I love doing that. It makes the whole experience more engaging, feel a lot more informed, a lot more educated before I make my decisions. And whether you're looking at player props or just following your favorite stars, it adds another level of excitement to every single game. It's really easy to navigate the apps, and it makes playoff basketball even more engaging from start to finish. You can head to FanDuel.com to get started yourself. That is FanDuel. Play your game. All right, continuing along here on today's episode of the show, pause for water, because I am the thirstiest man on the planet, apparently, every time I go live on this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, over 130 of you here in the live chat. If you have not subbed to the channel, would love it if you did so. Thank you so much to everybody who's gotten us over 20,000 subscribers. 20K is just still so insane to me. Just so insane to me. This is going to be... It's going to be a weird offseason, y'all. It's going to be a weird one. And Justin McBride does help me a little bit. Again, like I mentioned, we'll go over it again. Floor raiser. Somebody who can make things better for you if the high volatility ads don't work out. Stretch 4. That's what Kentucky needs. I'll talk here about the negatives because Jeff Goodman tweeted this out maybe a day or so ago. And this wasn't from him. This was from a Sun Belt coach, another Sun Belt coach, as far as his scouting report on McBride. Said that he was a good three-point shooter, said that he was a 3-level scorer, said that he was very physical on the offensive end, and overall was a difficult matchup for opposing teams. The negatives were his motor, his consistency, his outside shooting consistency. While he ended up, yes, being efficient overall in the year, he started hot and then he faded quickly in February and March. We talked about his shooting splits on the show the other day. It was bad. He was shooting like 54% from deep in November. He was shooting poorly in December, shot well in January, and then really, really bad in February and March. You need more consistency. You would hope for more consistency if this is going to be one of your more reliable three-point weapons. 40% on three outside shots per game is good on the surface, but there's a lot of context that goes into it. And you begin to wonder if you can find more, again, consistency day to day than maybe that you saw at JMU. The motor thing does concern me because watching his highlight tapes, I mean, when he's at his best, he is just flying to the rim, throwing stuff down. He's animated. He's fired up. He's all over the place. I would hate to see the negative side of him. If the scouting report is true, I'd hate to see the negative side of him, but I'm guessing. To go back to what I said yesterday about Jerome Morton committing to Kentucky, I think Morton wants to be here. Somebody like McBride, who comes from Oklahoma State, Nevada, and then JMU, to be able to finish out your career, and this is going to sound arrogant, at the University of Kentucky, I mean, it doesn't really get much better than that. This is as prestigious of a college basketball experience as you can get outside of just a select few blue bloods, Duke, Kansas, Carolina. I mean, this is right there at the very top of what the sport has to offer, I should say. And when you get an opportunity like this, I mean, you're going to go and play your heart out, I would imagine, especially if Kentucky's paying him to do so. I would love to know what sort of contract work Keegan Brown and Mark Pope are putting into some of these different player contracts. There's got to start being some incentive-based stuff here. Like, obviously, you got to pay the kids, but to pay them even more, you got to put some incentive-based stuff in there. Like, and maybe it's not necessarily statistical, like things you have to eclipse. Maybe it's just like hey, we want to see effort out of you every single day, and here's the way we're going to quantify it. Maybe it's not a counting stat, but we are going to keep track of it. And if we can get that from you, we're going to pay you more. We want to see that effort. We want to see your drive. We stay hungry. We devour Dwayne Johnson type stuff. I don't know. But it's something to monitor here, at least, the consistency of a player like this, because while I am sitting here telling you, yeah, he is a floor raiser, I'm also a little concerned about, how often does he raise that floor? Is he hot and cold as he was at JMU? My guess, honestly, is that no. My guess is that no. He's going to be perfectly fine here. My guess is that he's going to be perfectly okay. And he is going to slot somewhere between Almanor and Carr. And then you've got the freak of nature, 6'11", Usman Njai, to pair with him at that power forward position. I really like what Kentucky has at the 4. I hate that they've missed on the players that they've missed on. But overall, I think that they're going about this the right way. Now, with who they're picking, and if they can just find somebody international, if they can find somebody overseas that can give you the boost that you need in terms of talent and athleticism. I don't know if it's Santos. I don't know if it's somebody on the wing. I don't know who it's going to be. But they've got to find someone. They have to find someone. And if you don't, Braden Hawthorne, congratulations. It's your time to shine. You have to be a better player than a lot of people project you to be. Now it's on you a little bit to step up and showcase your skill set as an extremely versatile offensive player that's 6'9" and can handle the ball a little bit. He could end up being that. And I'm not trying to say it's you or it's nobody else to the kid. That's unfair to him, considering he's never played a minute of college ball. But at the same time, like for this season's sake, Hawthorne has to be something not uber special, but he's got to be impressive. He's got to be good. Again, with all the concerns, I think that there are things to like about this Kentucky team moving forward. And, somebody literally just said it in the live chat, and I'm kind of tired of this mentality as well. But unfortunately, we're getting put in this position because of the types of rosters that we're putting together. Ace says, us against the world, let's be the underdogs and start slapping teams. I don't want to be the underdog. I'm tired of being the underdog. I don't want to be the team that walks in and is projected to lose. This team is probably going to have to take on that mentality to an extent, but I don't want to be that. And frankly, Kentucky should not consistently be that. They should be at the top of their game basically every year, and they should be the team that everyone fears. The moment they walk into the gym, everyone should know the tone is about to get set by this squad. It's not about to be the other team that throws the first punch or sets how the game is going to go. I want to be the team, and Kentucky doesn't have to dominate every possession, every game, but they got to look like they want to, and they got to look like they're capable of doing it. As Zach just said, it's the way things are. Right now, we don't have another choice. As much as I would like to not be the underdog, as much as I would like to be the one that's actually throwing the knockout punch, unfortunately, we don't have another. This is what we are right now. And I just hope Pope finds a way to win with it. Matt says, are we better off now than with what we had last season? How long is UK going to let this Pope experiment go on? Recruiting / lack of it matters. Thankfully, we have point guards this year, plural. I agree with the couple of comments there at the end. I would say that is a very good question as far as are we better off now than with what we had last year. I think Zoom is a better point guard than Lowe. Overall, is he better a point guard for the system? No, I think they're two very similar players that are just not exactly the archetype Pope rocks with, but I think that Zoom is a better point guard. I think at shooting guard, there's an interesting conversation to be had about Owe and Wilkins. Actually, who did Kentucky? Yeah, Kentucky technically had, they technically had Chandler at shooting guard. Also, Zoom is a better player than Aberdeen, I would say, just because he's a more natural PG. All respect to DA. Wilkins is a better player than Chandler because he's more versatile. He's not as efficient, but he's more versatile, for sure. Way better in terms of versatility. At small forward, anything that Kentucky can offer at this point is not better than Ortega. At power forward, I would argue that Diabate and Yelovich, all due respect to them, on paper, McBride is better. On tape, McBride is better. Even in Jai, if he ends up shooting the 30-ish, 32% from three, I mean, he's still a more legitimate threat than either AJ or Mo D. It just is. And then Marino's back. And if they get Santos, I would say he's a better player than Brandon Garrison, like for sure. So, yeah, Kentucky should be better across the board. They should be. And that was a team that still won 22 games. But I don't want to be just the team that wins 22 games. I don't want to be the team that's like, well, we're going to be like top 5 in the SEC if things break our way and the season goes well. Like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be like, well, we're fighting for that double bye. I want to look up in November and say this team can win the SEC. They can win the SEC. They're one of the 3 best teams in this league, for sure. And they can make a deep run in March. They have the tools to do it. But that is a good question. I want to be the team that wins 30. I agree. Just not there right now. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Justin McBride commits to Kentucky. Give him his due. Give him his flowers on social media. He deserves it. He's earned it. You could follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK, follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.